I've seen too many people rush out for the cheapest 4K TV they can find, only to end up staring at a washed-out picture and a sluggish menu after a few weeks. The regret that follows those cheap buys is almost inevitable, especially when the next season rolls around and you realize the budget setup can't keep up with HDR movies or the latest games. So the question on everyone's mind is, does the Samsung 65-inch class OLED S90H feel like a smarter, more lasting purchase? Or is it just another pricey hype machine? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first unboxed this model, the first thing I noticed was how thin the panel is, practically a window into the room. That's the OLED promise right there. Each pixel lights up on its own, giving you perfect blacks and a contrast level that flat panel LED sets can only dream about. The glare-free coating is a subtle but real advantage when you set the TV in a bright living room. It diffuses reflections without sacrificing the deep black levels that OLED is known for. In my own apartment, where the large windows let in a lot of daylight, the screen stayed crisp even at noon, something a typical budget LED would have struggled with. The picture processing is where Samsung really tries to differentiate. The NQ4 AI Gen3 Processor is advertised as the brain behind AI upscaling, motion handling, and HDR remastering. In practice, that means the TV takes any 1080p source, your old Blu-ray collection, a YouTube video, or a game console running at 30 frames per second and attempts to push it up to 4K. I tried a classic sci-fi DVD, and the AI Upscaler managed to sharpen edge details and pull out more texture without the typical ringing you see on cheaper upscalers. It's not a miracle, but the result feels noticeably cleaner than just a straight 1080p feed. Gaming is another arena where the S90H tries to stand out. The Ultimate Gaming Pack bundles features like low input lag, variable refresh rate support, and a dedicated game mode that cranks up the brightness a touch to offset any motion blur. I hooked up a next-gen console and ran a fast-paced shooter. Input lag measured in the low single digits, and the AI Motion Enhancer Pro kept the motion smooth without the soap opera effect that some TVs introduce when they try to artificially smooth 60 frames per second footage. For a casual gamer or someone who streams from a console, the experience feels solid. Competitive players might still prefer a monitor with even lower latency, but for most living room gaming sessions the TV holds its own. Now, no product is without trade-offs, and the S90H's rating of 3.6 out of 5 on Amazon hints at a split opinion among owners. One practical concern that comes up with any OLED is the potential for burn-in if you leave static elements on the screen for hours. Think news tickers or game HUDs. Samsung does include pixel shift and an automatic screensaver, but the risk isn't eliminated, just mitigated. If you're the type who watches the same news channel every morning or runs a console with a permanent UI overlay, you might want to think twice. Brightness is another hidden limitation. While the glare-free layer helps with reflections, OLED panels traditionally max out lower than high-end LED models, especially in bright rooms. In my tests, the TV could hit around 500 to 600 nits at peak, which is plenty for most indoor lighting, but if you have a sunlit family room with windows that never close, the picture can look a bit dim compared to a premium QLED. The Auto HDR remastering tries to compensate by pulling out more detail and highlights, but it can't fully overcome the inherent peak brightness ceiling of OLED. Audio is decent but not a showstopper. The built-in speakers deliver clear dialogue and a respectable amount of volume for a 65-inch panel, but they lack the punch that a dedicated soundbar or a home theater setup would provide. If you're planning to use the TV as the central hub for movies and immersive TV shows, budgeting for a separate audio solution will make a noticeable difference. Who should actually consider buying this TV? If you value deep blacks, vibrant colors, and want a screen that looks cinematic even on streaming services like Netflix and Disney+, the S90H is a compelling choice. It also makes sense for gamers who want low lag and smooth motion without buying a separate monitor. The AI upscaling benefits anyone with a mixed library of older and newer content, making the whole experience feel more uniform. On the flip side, if you're on a strict budget, the price tag for a 65-inch OLED can be steep, and you might get more brightness and less burn-in risk by going with a high-end LED or QLED instead. Households with kids who love to leave cartoons on for hours, or users who keep a static UI on screen all day, should be wary of the long-term pixel wear. And if you're an audiophile who expects thunderous sound right out of the TV, you'll likely need to add a soundbar anyway. One practical strength that's easy